Good morning, viewers. A warm welcome, Sage here, and you're watching 𝐊𝐿𝐼𝐴 TV live from Sydney. This is the Global Markets Roundup show, and in today's show, we will explore the latest updates from the equity, currency and commodity markets from across the globe. Let us take a look now at the US market performance from Friday's closing. And all major US stock markets closed the week on a positive note on Friday, July 23rd, as the mega cap technology and consumer stocks rallied, lifting the S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite to record closes. The S&P 500 was up 1.01%, the Dow Jones rose 0.68%, and the Nasdaq Composite gained 1.04%. And the small cap Russell 2000 was up as well, 0.46%. Investors appeared enthused by the solid quarter second earnings of the companies, and the robust earnings of some technology and financial services companies dominated the talk on Wall Street. The gains come as the US private sector firms continue to make progress amid COVID disruptions. The companies have been facing significant labour and supply shortage in recent times. Technology, communication and consumer stocks led the S&P 500 with 9 of the 11 critical segments in the green. The energy stocks were the bottom movers, however, and in the technology stocks, micro-blogging company Twitter was up 3.85% a day after it reported a 74% year-on-year jump in revenue to $1.19 billion in the second quarter. Its earnings per share of 20 cents US beat analysts' expectations. The camera company Snap stock soared more than 24% a day after it reported a 116% increase in its second quarter revenue to $982 million and earnings per share of 10 cents US. The better than expected second quarter results of the social media companies have had a positive impact on social media company Facebook. The Facebook stock soared 5.89% in Friday's session. It is expected to present its earnings report next week. And shares of tech giant Intel Corp fell 6.36% after CEO Pat Gelsinger forecast subdued growth this year due to the chip shortage, which is expected to continue till 2023. Let's now take a look at the futures and commodities markets. Gold futures were down 0.19%, silver decreased 0.53%, while copper rose 2.72%. The Brent oil increased 0.49% and WTI crude was up 0.24%. Moving on again now to the bond markets. The 30-year Treasury bond yields were up 1.08%, while the 10-year bond yields increased 1.13%. US dollar futures index increased 0.09%. And this was the latest from the US markets. Now it's time for a short break, but please stay tuned as we'll be back to take a look at the European and the Asian markets soon.
Hi, this is Andy Liu broadcasting from 𝐊𝐼𝐴 Media Studio in Australia, and I'll be hosting the new 𝐊𝐼𝐴 Wellness Show. The half-hour show will cover topics from how wellness as a concept has become even more significant during COVID, to how becoming vegan may improve your health, and much more. We are excited to showcase our live streaming show to our audience of millions overseas and in Australia. Tune in to 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV and join me.
Welcome back, viewers. Sage here. You're watching 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV live from Sydney. This is the Global Markets Roundup show, and as promised, we're now about to take a look at the European markets. European stocks closed at all-time highs on Friday as optimism about the earnings season and the European Central Bank's pledge of continued monetary support outweighed risks of a resurgence in COVID-19 cases. The Pan-European Stock 600 index rallied 1.1% to hit a record high and marked a 1.5% weekly rise, its biggest weekly gain since early May. And the yield on Germany's 10-year bond, the Eurozone's benchmark, fell for the fourth week in a row as fears over the spread of the Delta variant of the coronavirus rattled markets and prompted investors to buy safer assets. Germany's 10-year yield, the benchmark for the region, was down by around 1 basis point on the day at 0.419% and down around 7 basis points for the week. It hit its lowest since February earlier this week at 0.44%. And moving on now to the UK markets, the London markets traded in a green zone after the release of several macroeconomic indicators. The Office for National Statistics had reported around 0.5% monthly growth in the UK retail sales during June 2021 as compared to May 2021, boosted by the European Championships. And moreover, the UK manufacturing PMI came out to be 60.4 and services PMI came out to be 57.8 during July 2021. Now, the FTSE 100 listed telecommunications company Vodafone Group shares grew by about 2.41% after the company reported a rise in the first quarter revenue, boosted by robust business in Africa and Europe. And moving on now to insurance player Beazley. Its shares surged by around 5.57% after the company had swung into profit during the first half of the current fiscal year, driven by significant improvements in premium rates across its divisions. And now let's take a look at the Asian markets, looking at how China's market fared on Friday. Chinese shares ended lower on Friday, trimming gains for the week as consumer staples, healthcare and real estate firms dropped, while foreign investors turned net sellers under a key cross-border investment channel. And the blue chip CSI 300 index fell 1.2%, while the Shanghai Composite Index lost 0.6%. And for the week, CSI 300 is down 0.1%, while SSEC is up 0.3%. And moving on now from China to South Korea. South Korean shares closed higher on Friday, building on the previous session's sharp gains as earnings optimism and positive cues from Wall Street underpinned the markets. The Kospi closed up 0.13% and the index rose 1.07% on Thursday, marking its best day in 2 months on upbeat earnings from the automotive manufacturer Hyundai Motor. Well, this is how the European and Asian market performed on Friday. It's time for a short break, but after the break we'll take a look at the Australian stock market, so please stay tuned to Kalkine TV. Good morning viewers, Sage again. You're watching Kalkine TV live from the Sydney studio and this is the Global Markets Roundup show. Let's now take a look at the Australian share market's performance. The Australian share market is on a positive side Monday morning after all three major US stock indices surged to record closing highs on upbeat company earnings and increased investor risk appetite amid the signs of economic revival, and the Australian technology shares such as Afterpay and Xero could be in focus on Monday, and stocks of major energy companies such as Santos and Woodside Petroleum could trade higher on Monday. The leading gold mining stocks including Northern Star Resources and Newcrest Mining could trade lower on Monday. And hopefully that information's been of good use to you. That's all for now, but please stay tuned with Kalkine TV for more live market updates, and we'll be back with more of the news on the markets, economy and diverse themes and sectors. Sage signing off.